There was a time when the church was feared, not for its politics, not for its buildings, but for its power. Demons trembled when believers walked into a room. Sickness fled at the laying on of hands. The word wasn't just preached, it was demonstrated. And the people didn't come for coffee and branding. They came because they were desperate for God. But somewhere along the way, we got clever. We learned how to market the gospel. We learned how to soften the edges, polish the message, and package the mystery. We traded altars for algorithms. We replaced the fire of the Spirit with the fog of performance. And we called it relevance. Walk into many churches today and you'll find the same formula. A sleek stage with LED lights, a worship team dressed like indie musicians, a sermon that sounds like a motivational TED Talk, a pastor who's more influencer than intercessor. None of these things are evil in themselves. Excellence is beautiful. Creativity is divine. But when the pursuit of relevance becomes the goal, reverence dies quietly in the corner. We've built churches that are easy to attend but hard to encounter. We've created atmospheres that entertain but rarely transform. We've taught people how to clap, but not how to kneel. And in doing so, we've raised a generation that knows how to build a brand, but not how to break a stronghold. The modern church has become obsessed with being smart. We quote sociologists, reference psychology, and sprinkle in Greek word studies to prove our depth. We've elevated intellect over intimacy. We've taught theology without teaching authority. We've become so afraid of being labeled weird or emotional that we've sterilized the supernatural. Deliverance is dismissed as outdated. Prophecy is reduced to vague encouragement. Healing is optional, and tongues are controversial. But the early church didn't apologize for power. They didn't explain away miracles. They didn't sanitize the Spirit. They walked in fire, and the world noticed. The cost of relevance is not just theological, it's spiritual. When we prioritize image over intimacy, we lose authority. When we chase applause instead of presence, we lose power. When we build ministries that are impressive but not surrendered, we lose the very thing that makes us dangerous to darkness. And the enemy loves it. He doesn't mind churches that are full, as long as they're powerless. He doesn't mind sermons that are clever, as long as they don't confront. He doesn't mind worship that's loud, as long as it's hollow. Because relevance without reverence is just noise. And noise doesn't break chains. We've forgotten that we're in a war. Not a metaphorical one. A real, spiritual war with real consequences. The enemy isn't threatened by our branding. He's threatened by our authority. And authority doesn't come from being liked, it comes from being known in heaven and feared in hell. Jesus didn't die to make us relevant. He died to make us righteous. To make us dangerous. To give us authority. These signs will follow those who believe. In my name they will cast out demons, they will lay hands on the sick, and they will recover. Mark chapter 16 verses 17 to 18. That promise wasn't for pastors only. It wasn't for priests or professionals. It was for believers. You don't need a title to carry fire. You need intimacy. You need surrender. You need reverence. When churches become performance-driven, they lose their prophetic edge. They become safe, predictable, and palatable. But the gospel was never meant to be palatable. It was meant to be powerful. Jesus didn't come to make people comfortable. He came to make them free. And freedom requires confrontation. But confrontation doesn't sell well. It doesn't trend. It doesn't fill seats. So we avoid it. We preach soft truths. We entertain instead of equip. We build platforms instead of altars. And the result? A church that looks alive but is spiritually asleep. This isn't just a critique, it's a call. A call to return to reverence. To rebuild the altar. To restore spiritual authority. Not with hype, but with holiness. Not with charisma, but with consecration. Not with relevance, but with reverence. Because the world doesn't need another cool church. It needs a church that walks in fire. That casts out demons. That heals the sick. That speaks truth with trembling lips and burning hearts. If you felt the ache, the longing for more, the frustration with shallow faith, the hunger for the raw, unfiltered presence of God, you're not alone. You are part of the remnant. The ones who still believe in power. The ones who still tremble at His word. The ones who refuse to settle for fog when they were made for fire. Let's rebuild the altar. Let's restore the reverence. Let's walk in authority.